when I see you again. We've come a long way from where we began. Oh, I'll tell you all about it when I see you again. When I see you again. Damn, who knew? All the planes we flew, good things we've been through. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. For all of those who don't know, that means may the peace, blessings, and mercy of Allah be upon you. So I've never explicitly said this. I mean, I've said it. If you guys follow my Instagram, you definitely know this about me. But for those who just see me on YouTube, I am a Muslim. I converted to Islam a few years ago, and I did a podcast where I talk about my story there. But that's for another day. Anyways, welcome to today's video. I'm going to be doing a podcast-esque interview with my akhi, my brother in faith, my best buddy that I've met since I became a Muslim. This is Jacob Kiefert. I pronounced that right? Kiefert. Sorry, I don't always work with it. But Kiefert. This is Jacob Kiefert. He himself is a Muslim convert. 5 years? 5 years. And we're just going to be talking about our respective journeys to Islam, how we came to know each other, the basis of our friendship, and then, we might go a little bit off the grain and just talk about our favorite memories, reminisce on the best moments of our friendship, because he's about to be leaving soon. He's been in Georgia for 2 years, but he's moving back to New York, and I want to do this one last hurrah with him. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Ready?
All right, I'm ready, man.
All right, so Jacob, I'm going to start off very, very simple. Would you mind introducing yourself to my fans and just anything you would like to share about yourself?
Absolutely. Assalamu alaikum, everyone listening. My name is Jacob. I born and raised in New York. Basically, to start my, I guess it makes the most sense to talk about my journey in Islam. I became Muslim at the age of 20. In university, I was just, at that point in my life, I had just turned 20 years old. So I felt that was a turning point in my life, like a milestone, where I really needed to figure out who I was and give it some real thought and care. And really the essence of who I was at that point, I realized that there was a really big chasm between really everything that I believed in terms of virtues and ethics and just the values of being a good man, versus on one hand my lifestyle, which was at that point pretty typical party, not so crazy, but the typical American life, versus, and then really my actions versus that. And then I didn't have any core to why I believed in what I did. It was more so I felt like I was just doing what everyone else was doing. So I started to deeply scrutinize that, and I came to a turning point where I was born and raised Roman Catholic, and I always believed in a God, especially when I gave that some thought. I was, everyone goes through a little atheistic phase, but I believed in a God especially when I was 20. But I knew for certain, more than anything at that point, that I knew that I wasn't God, and that I couldn't define my own life by just following my whims, that this was the wrong way, and that I did need to turn to some sort of sovereign wisdom or guidance. And at first, when the natural thing to do is to turn to the faith you're at least born into. It's the most comfortable. So I did start to scrutinize my Catholic upbringing, and at that point, I was facing it. I was going to make a big sacrifice, giving up a lot of your known comforts at that time, which were, at that point, I'd call them wrong, and hedonistic. It's still a big sacrifice to give that up. I didn't want to blindly jump into a faith which I wasn't absolutely certain of. So I scrutinized the Christian scriptures, and I felt that at a core, the Christian scriptures to me, while I did see them as true, the historicity of the text, I felt like there was just so many human hands involved in that project of the Bible's compilation. So much so that it felt arbitrary for why some Bibles would be chosen as sacred scripture and some wouldn't be. I felt it extremely difficult to ground myself in this religion, or in that religion. The next step was to just get to the root of what I believe, and I did believe in God, and I prayed to God sincerely for guidance. And I knew of Islam more so from the position of someone who viewed it as something that's anti-American, something that's dangerous, something that's a harm to society. But I knew one thing about Muslims is that they believed in one God, and they made no distinction in that. They vehemently worshipped one God. So I just read the Quran in English myself, and I would read the Quran, and what I'd pray for, I'd find in the text. And from there, I just had to just accept. There was no way I could deny the truth. I felt the truth had been given to me. It wasn't so profound. I never expected, a bolt of a ray to come through the ceiling and tell me this is the truth, Jacob. But it was as clear as day in my perspective, just having the answer there to make this is the first time ever I made a prayer to God where I felt like it wasn't just going out into the abyss, where I'd make a prayer and then I'd get an answer. I'd make another prayer, get an answer. And in the text itself. So that's why I very confidently accepted Islam without having any real knowledge or really deep I know Muslim friends really, besides maybe an acquaintance here or there, an old roommate, nothing founded on religion, just by knowing them though, by circumstance. So I give all the credit to Allah for that. And then from there, it's been a good solid 5 years, and I've gotten married, I've made plenty of friends, I've gotten really connected and deeply connected intimately with the Ummah from across the world, and it's just been an absolute blessing and beyond my wildest dreams. And here I am with my buddy here in Islam, Kevin, and that's the short of my journey in Islam, and I'm ready to take another question.
So this is mostly like just a curiosity because I never asked this before, but you're of Italian German descent, and like I've talked quite a bit of how I had a significant journey with reconciling my new Islamic faith with the Latino culture I was brought up in. But like, you grew up American, but at the same time you actively acknowledge your heritage. Have you ever had any other incidents in the past, even whether before or after Islam, where you got a chance to like explore the other parts of your heritage? Like, have you ever gotten the chance to because I know you traveled quite a bit. You ever gone to like where your family comes from, like in Germany or Italy, or have opportunities to explore more deeply your heritage?
Got it. Well, my family on both sides is thoroughly Americanized. So there's no, I've been to Italy before. That was amazing. Went to Rome and Venice and Naples, and I've been across the boot of Italy. And, that's wonderful. I feel a kindredness to that land. I think anyone would. It's beautiful. But definitely, I'm American, and there's been a little bit of I think that people who are born in Islam and their culture and Islam are married. They're so lucky because I look at myself, and really me and Kevin, we're both American Muslims, and every American comes from a background that has deep roots in either Europe or Asia or South America. So we're all immigrants one way or another, and I feel that as American Muslims, we're the pioneers. We're the ones who are to establish an American Islamic culture that is taking all of the good that America has to offer. And America, you know, despite everything, American values, you know, we have a history of uprightness in this country, and I fully believe in that. We're people who, I think, you know, through not having direct guidance with Islam, but people, I feel like, you know, there's a sincere desire in this country for uprightness. We have our founding fathers. I think we're, you know, sincerely seeking, you know, a way forward from sectarian violence and trying to bring the best out of humanity and really establish the common word that we all agree on, appealing very well to the fitra of just, you know, being honest, having integrity, putting family first. Of course, we have our rights from God himself. And so taking the good of America, and then of course everything of Islam, and then going from there. It's a project. It's something that has to be done organically and sincerely. There's no way to do it. You know, you can't force it to happen. It has to be, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has to bless this nation with strong Muslims that are able to carry the deen out for generations after generations. And, you know, I look back and it's a shame because a lot of my culture that, you know, as much as I love, you know, my Italian and my German culture, I'm quicker to just forget that. You know, my German and Italian ancestors, when they came to America, they get rid of that. They said, forget that. We're in America. We're going to speak English. We won't speak Italian. It was embarrassing to my grandmother when her mother would speak Italian in the house. She'd find it embarrassing. That she's like, you know, we just got to speak English. This is the way we do it here. So it's, I love it. I respect my, you know, my heritage in that, you know, you can't curse your family line if there's nothing to do with that. But I'm looking very forward thinking. I can't escape being an American, so I can escape being an Italian German guy, I guess. So, but I am an American, and Islam is my religion. So just organically bringing the two together over time, inshallah, I'll have, you know, I'm the first Muslim in my family. So inshallah, there'll be tens and tens of generations after me that are Muslim American, and that this land can, you know, really, I think, carry the best of us and be home for the best of us in the Ummah.
Yeah. I think it's I guess one of the reasons it's different for me, because you know, you admitted yourself, like, as far as I'm gathering, and please correct me if I'm wrong, it was your great-grandparents who first came here to America?
The most recent who came here were my great-grandparents.
Yeah,
but
so
I have lines all across that came from, I have family that came from 1776, they were here.
Yeah.
So it just depends on which line, but like my
just
Italian
going on
side,
that line alone, we would gather you as being fourth generation American.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas for me, I guess it's a bit more extensive because, you know, it's not clear cut for me because even though I wasn't born here, but I was brought here. So by the definition, a person who would classify as a first generation American are the first people to come to the country. Then second generation would be the children who were born from those people who first came to the country. But the thing is, I came here with my parents. So I was already born, so I came with them. So some people like to give that classification and saying, like, you're 1 3/4 American. I'm not exactly first generation, but I'm not exactly second generation either. But it depends. But the thing is, you know, I grew up feeling like I was that second generation kid, you know, because I had the direct influence of my parents and what they brought from Mexico and Honduras here, you know what I'm saying? But like I said in my previous podcast episode, which inshallah I'll be adding to the description, so if you're ever curious about what my journey into Islam was like, you know, my particular journey, I'll be sharing that inshallah ta'ala. But my parents did not necessarily force that down to me, but there are plenty of people who have gone through that. You know, there are those extremes, those who either go through that major cultural apostasy where they like remove any elements that they perceive as foreign by the time they come here, or the people who hold very closely to their culture that they're unwilling to accept the fact that they're not there anymore. They come here and that's going to come with change whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
It's part of the natural order of things.
Yeah, and I fully respect people like American Muslims who want to embrace Islam and want to embrace the cultures where Islam has been historically, like Arabian culture or, Desi culture, I suppose, even. That's perfectly normal and fine. And I'm speaking strictly of reverts or converts, not of, Muslims from that lineage. But for me, I feel like there's, I love my country, and I want it to be a pure country and a good country, that, a nation of peace. And it's just, something that I have to just work honestly and hard for. And if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants to bless me and my family, worst case scenario, I know right now things are a little bit crazy and America has a bad rep, deservedly so. It's America has done some pretty messed up things around the world, and in our country itself there's a level of chaos and polarization that's scary. But I seek refuge in Allah, and I know that there'll always be a protected people in the ummah, that no matter what, from any fitna, from the fitna of Dajjal even, will be safe. So I say, bring it on. I need to learn more, of course. One thing I'm fascinated by is just the political end of Islam. From what I've seen, Islamic politics is a little bit underdeveloped. There are very, very, very wide-ranging, diverse views on politics in Islam. Some that say, that I don't want to get too far afield with that topic, but that's definitely weighing in the back of my mind too. At what level is the American project compatible with Islam? And some things I've seen, like I know, I question, like there's the Mardin Fatwa by Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, where he explains about the Muslims living under the rule of the Mongols who invaded Mardin, where he was from. I don't know if I'm pronouncing Mardin right, but the area that Ibn Taymiyyah was born was ruled. Muslims lived there because it was conquered, but it was Muslims were there, but it was ruled by Mongols, and the Mongols had their own laws over those people. And Ibn Taymiyyah interestingly said that these people who live there, they're not hypocrites for living there under the Mongols, and they can stay there insofar as they're able to practice their faith. So when I see that, it gives to me that and I take Ibn Taymiyyah personally as a authority figure. I mean, I look at all of Ahl Sunnah, the scholars of Ahl Sunnah. I take all of their words very seriously, but I just like Ibn Taymiyyah, so I'll just bring him up for now. And I'm familiar with this fatwa because I've recently read it. And it's explained that, the fact that in that fatwa it says that you can live in this land under the rule of the disbelievers, and your faith can, in principle, in theory, your faith can be fully expressed. So that gave me a lot of hope, saying, in America we have a Bill of Rights, I have the First Amendment to protect my freedom of religion. That gives me an idea that there may very well be a compatibilism between, not to say that the American system of law and the American way is inalienable or perfect. Of course it's not. Islam in its purest form is always the best. But as far as what I have to work with within my means, as long as I don't, and I never want to have to sacrifice my deen. So if I can have best of both worlds, where I have my people, my culture, who I can be a source of, or not a source of astaghfirullah, but a means of guidance, and just be an exemplar of the faith, and establish an Islamic community here to the fullest extent, where there's no deprivation in our rights as Muslims, in our ability to practice our faith. To me, this is the ideal that I'd like to strive for. But Allahu Alam, maybe I'll learn something new down the road, but that's currently where I'm at with culture and Islam.
So, alhamdulillah. MashaAllah, my brother, again, it's just really nice to hear from you. So I feel like I don't want to go too much into like discussions on this because it's also I want to make this like a fun trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
So let's try leading into that for a minute. So how about we just go bouncing back and forth, and we tell the audience of how we met, how we came to be friends, and what's it been like being buddies over the past 2 years. Because you're my akhi, you're my best friend in faith. You're like the closest friend I've made in the Muslim Ummah. Not disregarding any of the other incredible friends I've made, but you're like, in terms of since I became Muslim, my best and oldest friend in Islam.
Exactly. So so to start, I moved here July 2021 with the full intention that this is going to be temporary, and I am moving back. Alhamdulillah, I'm glad to move back, and but the sad thing is, I have to leave now. But either way, I knew it was going
to find a friend.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
So I moved here 2021 July, and I had zero intention of making any friends. I was like, I'm going to be here. I'm going to work. I'm going to just dig my heels in and just ride out these 2 years. And I had again zero intention of forming lasting deep connections to this community and to the people here. But this man Kevin, I met him in a group chat. Like, there's this big Muslim group chat. My wife joined it because it's a students association thing.
Yeah, and just to go off, his wife recently graduated with a bachelor's in neuroscience, right?
Yes.
Bachelor's in neuroscience in Emory, mashallah. May Allah continue to elevate her in knowledge, grant her beneficial knowledge, and and I don't want to speak on your behalf, but that's primarily the reason why you moved here. You got married, and she was attending university here, so you followed her, being the good husband that you are.
Yeah, so that's exactly it. I wanted her to pursue her education and get that, so we certainly prioritized that. So, and I was able to make work accommodations with remote work, so it all worked out. And I was living in my apartment, and I hadn't been going out a lot. I'm very actually comfortable with being a loner. And Kevin he just became a Muslim, and I was in this group chat, and Kevin was asking a lot of questions in the group chat, and I wasn't paying too much attention to the group chat, but my wife wanted me to engage, so I did. And Kevin being a new Muslim, it really resonated with me, and at that point I was Muslim for maybe 3.5, 4 years.
And
so
for me, I was only like about less than a month in.
Yeah.
I converted I reverted late August. It was the 22nd of August, just a few days before I turned 22, mashallah. And I joined the group chat about a month later.
Yep. So I was, I felt a responsibility to, answer, and I wanted to. I was enthusiastic to see his enthusiasm for the deen. So we talked over WhatsApp, and went from asking questions to we're just basically it was all about the deen. But I think Kevin really appreciated, and I really felt sincerely I wanted to. This is my brother in Islam. I feel sincerely he's my brother. So with that, Kevin was like, "We got to hang out," and in my mind I was like, "Dude, I'm not trying to even make friends here. You're my brother, yes, but I'm not really a go out guy either way. Like, I kind of like just being to myself." And I pushed it off. I kind of skirted the whole, and then eventually my wife really was just like, "Jacob, you got to get out. You got to go hang out with some friends. This guy Kevin is a great guy. It's good to have some friends." So I was like, "All right, let's do it." So we went out, and me and Kevin, we hung out. It was me, Regia, and Kevin, and then we hung out, and I think we went out twice. And then from there, because at that point me and Kevin hadn't hung out one-on-one, I don't think.
Yeah.
But basically, I was on a hunt for some video games, the specific video games, and Kevin had them. So I was like, "Dude, I'll buy them off you." So he said, "All right, come pull up." So I pull up, I buy the games, and then as we were chilling, I was like, "Dude, let's just go out." So we went out to the mall. And I obviously bought the games off of him, so I was like, "Let's go on a little shop, like whatever you want to get. Like, we're just gonna go hang out at the mall, go shoe shopping or whatever." and
Yeah.
I got him these kicks as
actually,
a trade.
So just to elaborate on that, this was about near the end. It was a few months ago, but yeah, like he said.
How many months ago was it? Like 8 months ago? 7 months ago?
I don't know, man. Time flies so fast.
It does.
But it's just a matter of like, dude, I've lived more life in these 22 months I've been Muslim than I've had in the last 22 years of my life. And it's a good thing, mashallah, because, look, here's the deal. If you guys really know me, you know I'm also that kind of person who keeps himself, but also when I became Muslim, I felt like the true sincerity of a community for the first time because, and again, I reference this a lot in my podcast episode with UpLivity Coach. That's the collaboration I did. But beforehand, I didn't have like a full true sense of what it meant like to really be part of a community until I became Muslim. Like in the words of Malcolm X, never before had I experienced true hospitality and the spirit of true brotherhood. You know, true brotherhood and sisterhood. Like with Islam, it was a whole different level than what it completely redefined what I thought was solidarity and a community. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And I just wanted more of that and I was also in the process of breaking out of my shell as an introvert, trying to make a little bit more of an effort. So it's a crazy thing. Islam did what 22 years of my friends, my family, and my classmates couldn't do, make me deliberately more social, because these were people who I actually wanted to be around. Because the thing is, I'm the kind of person who, if I don't feel any benefit or any good vibes from you, I'm not going to hate you, but it's just like, I don't want to like waste my energy around that. I'd rather be around authentic people. And the thing is, like with Jacob, he's one, before you, there were only like 3 other guys in existence that I knew who I felt that true level of genuineness. You know, my buddy Mark, who you've seen in a previous video of mine. Then there was my schoolhood best friend Jason, and then there was Pancho, but it was a lesser level, but also him. And then, well, actually, there was a 4th one. You know, Coy. You met Coy.
Yeah,
love the guy.
Shout out to Coy.
Yeah, and you've seen him in a previous video too. But this is the 5th guy. You know, when I met you, and I just felt, in just talking to you, I had that, like, what I see from you is what I get. And I really like that, because you never know what you get from a person, and sometimes you don't always know, and I don't really like that. But with you, I don't feel like you're hiding anything from me.
Yep.
No, you're your sincere, authentic self with me, and that's exactly what I want in a friend. You know, this was a guy who I felt was genuine, so I just felt like drawn to be around you, man. I felt a benefit with you, and I will admit I was a bit like really extra persistent with him, but it's just because, you know, very rarely do I get like true friends like that.
And it's really for the sake of like Allah more than anything, because that's really, and that's why it's a great friendship to have Muslim friends, because I got plenty of friends who are non-Muslim. It's our friendship is just, you know, growing up together, riding bikes, you know, playing sports, going to school, all that good stuff. But for me, you know, with having Muslim friends, I feel like the most intimate part of my life, which is my relationship with Allah, to be able to talk about that and grow in that and explain in that, or rather to connect on that, ultimately is what makes the friendship all the better with a Muslim.
Yeah.
And that's where it really feels like family from scratch, because people who have that mutual relationship with Allah, when you meet those people in real life, you know, you feel like there's so many people I've met. I didn't know them from a hole in the wall before, and now I see them, and it's like I've known them my whole life. Like they're like family,
exactly.
Like, as if we have the same mother and father. Like we're the same people, and it's a very surreal thing to have that level.
This doesn't just apply to marriage, you know. It's friendship too, because, you know, it's like the closer you and I both got to Allah, it seems like, especially when I was building up my own iman as a new Muslim, it's just like our friendship has really grown over the years.
And friends like that come at a good time. So Kevin was someone who was a new Muslim. He was very enthusiastic about Islam, and it's an enthusiasm that is contagious, and it's extremely rejuvenating to be around. Seriously, it is. It's very, because, you know, you become a Muslim, and when you first become Muslim, your whole life you only could think of Allah, and it's beautiful. And then of course you have to focus on other things in life, very like, you know, dunya matters like work and you know, school and marriage and growing a family and all that other stuff that's important, but it's just stuff that sometimes obscures from where you always should have at the center of your mind, which is Allah. And having Kevin, who is just like all about just that right way of thinking, it was a boost I needed at the right time, and I didn't even know I needed it at that time, and I really did. And it was I'll let you.
Yeah, and you had the structure and everything from your years being Muslim. You know, you had like your set standards there, but there's that essence that you just felt needed a rejuvenation. Whereas I had so much of the essence, but I still needed, because I was still very new. I was still learning the basics. I needed like that guidance. I needed like the kind of people who would help me ensure that my enthusiasm and my eagerness was managed and directed correctly. Because unfortunately, with a lot of new converts, sometimes a lot of people leave after embracing Islam either from lack of direction from their fellow Muslims, you know, lack of aid and direction from their fellow Muslims, or there's the other extreme of too much of it, where they feel restricted. But with you, and then ultimately with Medina Institute, and then the friends I made there, and the travels I've gotten to do at the other masjids, and the experiences I've gotten to have, I felt like you guys have all really provided me that true sense of what it means to be part of a community, and to be, you know, just be every day be grateful that I'm Muslim, that I accepted the truth of Islam. So, and again, you and Raja were like a very big part of that, because I was very fresh and I hadn't even yet attended my first MSA meeting, and I just wanted someone who I thought I could relate to in terms of, you know, not just being a new Muslim, but like dealing with those common fitnas of, you know, the balancing between being the only Muslim in your family, then different cultures, and yeah, we have different experiences and we have different outlooks, but the thing is, when you truly have that spirit of Islam and that spirit of brotherhood, you can disagree and still have a good friendship. You know, you can have that level of respect for each other's points, and you can actually notice the validity of the other person's points. You know?
Yeah, Islam is the farthest thing from a rigid point of view. Islam, of course, you have your maxims in Islam, La ilaha illallah. You know, just you just have the Shahada again. You have, that's, you know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And you know, we have just the clear precepts in the Quran, the clear maxims of the Quran. You know, not to steal, not to lie, not to cheat, not to commit adultery, not to
betray,
murder, not to, you know, we have our clear cut. But from there, you have. And this is especially in the level of fiqh. There's a wisdom in, you know, we're able to approach Islam. We're able to approach Islam if you have sincerity in your heart and you are engaging with the primary sources. There's a level of ijtihad that allows. And again, I'm not a mujtahid, right? If I'm pronouncing that right, even.
Yeah,
but I'm not. You know, I'm just I'm a very simple layman. But you know, the pious predecessors and, you know, the founders of the madhabs and the scholars who built up those madhabs, they all had sincerity in approaching Islam, and they were able to come from, you know, different contexts, and they came up with different answers, but it's all from a level of sincerity, and that's why I really appreciate, you know, and there's, you know, the hadith where if a scholar with, you know, using ijtihad, or a judge using his judgment, and he judges sincerely, but he's wrong, he's still blessed with one reward, whereas the one who's correct gets 2 rewards.
Yeah.
So it's
hadith.
It's I think definitely as being a new Muslim, I've really embraced I've embraced that. I really love the concept of adhr bil jahil. which is a concept of excused by ignorance. Because boy, do I know I've been ignorant my whole life on many things, and I'm still a layman. So being able to approach the ummah with a level of just, not being vitriolic and not being hateful, and especially even towards non-Muslims, you know what I mean? Just, I understand that I'm following the truth, and I believe that sincerely, and I know that non-Muslims, they're astray. And there's no doubt about that. There's only one truth, and it's Islam. But they all have people all are coming from a different place in a different time. They may accept Islam in a few years from now. So to feel hatred towards people is foolish. It's not the way of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. He always saw the good and optimistic end of it. Even if people were waging war against him, mushrikeen were waging war against him, he still said, well, maybe even from their children, Muslims will be born. So the level of compassion and empathy I've been able to attain towards people is a paradigm of peace in Islam. And that's not to say that Islam hasn't actually, and Islam has, it's, as I said, there's bona fide maxims that we follow that you do not encroach on my beliefs. And it's given me a backbone for sure, and this is what I believe, this is what I stand for, and I don't want my children to ever be taken up by the trends of the time today. Islam is my religion, and it's a religion that I, inshallah, will preserve for my family. But it's, absolutely a one of optimism and peace and safety and security and strength. And ultimately, it's again, it's allowed for, just on a humanitarian level, it's really allowed me and Kevin, who come from completely different backgrounds. Granted, we're both American. Kevin's 1/3 American, though.
It's more like the best way in terms of a nationalist perspective.
Yeah,
I would say the best way is is Honduran Mexican American. So I'm not an American citizen. Technically, I would be classified as a Honduran Mexican. I'm a Mexican citizen of Honduran descent. But because I can't deny the fact that I grew up here, I grew up with American experiences, American clothes, American shows, American culture. So I would best describe myself as a Honduran Mexican American Muslim.
Yep. And Islam really has, and for any non-Muslim listening to this, Islam has an ability to really shatter any other barrier you'd have between a person, whether that be language even, nationality, skin color, gender, anything. It really, age, you feel a level of, you're a compatriot with that person, and it's extremely beautiful to have that. I think that just as a means for peace, we all in Islam very much protects and respects family ties. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ came to, one of the things he was charged with to do was to call for preserving family ties. So the family is a very important thing. It's you could even call it a sacred thing even. I think. I don't think it's too far to say that it's sacred. We have to have our limits with, my deen is preserved and nothing will encroach that. And if you try to take away my deen, then I remove myself from you. But as long as we can agree on the common word, and we agree that, I obey the rights of my mother and my father, and that's not bearing of them being Muslim, unless they command me in something that's kufr, they command me in something that's kufr, I have to obey them. So this level of just this humanitarian outlook towards Islam, this isn't something that I was even looking for in Islam, frankly. I really, being someone at that point, when I was 20-year-old male, 17, I was pretty demoralized. I didn't really necessarily need that outlook or was craving that outlook. I really just craved the truth, and I craved my Creator. And I wanted my Creator to be a present force in my life. And all the extra good that's come from that. It's just right now, it's a testament towards me and Kevin's friendship. It's just one of the many testaments towards Allah's greatness, and I give all the credit to Him alone.
And going back to our story, because we went a little off tangent, but for good reasons. It it was, again, I was pushing a little bit, and I sometimes have that tendency, but mashallah, it was really his wife Rajia, who provided him the incentive to really pursue our friendship, even though you liked me definitely, and you respected me. The fact is you didn't have it. You just didn't naturally have it in you to just naturally want to hang out.
I needed help, but it's things that I didn't even know I needed, I received, and it's. And from there, I just had a blast. I feel connected to the state. Atlanta feels like a second home to me, which is way more than I could have asked for. I mean, I've lived outside of my hometown before, university, studying abroad, and I do feel a kindredness to those places. I'd like to go back, but Georgia's, it's second to. It's a hard, second home for me. It's firmly...
Yeah, talking about... I want to believe that it's because I made also because, as I started getting more benefits and access to resources and better access to the community, especially through becoming a member of my Masjid Medina Institute, I just always wanted to share that with the friends I made, especially, And you said it yourself, when you came to Medina Institute and got to see what it was like being in my masjid, and even Rajia, you said you two felt like a very sincere kinship over there. Talk more about that.
Oh, Medina Institute is something else. It's a very special place, mashallah. In, what's this area?
This is Gwinnett County.
Gwinnett County. It's a really, you go to Medina, you drive past it, and you never expect when you go into those doors that you get such a level of hospitality, brotherhood, just overall kinship, just a spirit of really seeking, or a spirit of wanting to have Allah in your life. I feel like you go there and the drama, you leave that at the door. It's really just a wholesome place. One of the best masjids I've been to in America. And alhamdulillah, I haven't been to Mecca or Medina yet. Inshallah, I go there soon. And also, may Allah bless the brothers at Hajj right now. This is the Hajj right now.
Ameen, man.
So, the brothers and sisters at Hajj. But I've been to Aqsa, Masjid al-Aqsa, alhamdulillah. And I've loved that masjid. And not to go too far afield, but those brothers, the Palestinian brothers, despite the persecution there, in America, I feel like we're dealing with a level of subtle spiritual, there's always this, and not even subtle, there's an overt cultural shift going on that's crazy. Over there, it's like an authoritarian regime that's religion, society, language, everything's you have to fight for. And these brothers, alhamdulillah, it's hard to describe, but they are safe with Allah. It's weird. It's hard to describe. They're not demoralized. I feel like I'm more demoralized here than they are over there. And these are, they're Palestinians. They're living under occupation. And they're very just uplifted people. They're very happy. They're very, they love their Lord. They love their Creator. And they see me, and at that point I was Muslim for less than a year, and they made a point that they wanted for me to know Dar as-Salam. They wanted me to know that I am entering the abode of peace by being a Muslim, and that Islam is everything in this life is a trial, and that having just sabr and patience and worshipping Allah fervently, that this is the way out to any situation. This is the situation with Jonah and the whale, Prophet Yunus alayhi salam. Just repenting to Allah, and even in the most dire of circumstances, you know that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has your life firmly in His grip, and that you will be saved through repenting and connecting to Him. So overall, I've been going deep down every route. I've been taking the chance to do that. I'm opening up my heart right now on this podcast. But just to circle it back, one thing too that Kevin and I did. We spent a lot of great time during Ramadan. He was the chaiwala at Ramadan. He was helping. He was doing a lot of the volunteer work, which is, alhamdulillah, it's inspirational. Giving out, donuts and chai tea to the brothers after they'd pray, 8 rak'ah for Taraweeh. And just really just being there as a support. And I hang out with him. Shout out to brother Andy. We got brother Zahid. We got all these great, and Zahid's not at Medina as much. I haven't seen him there, but
he tends to be at Georgia Islamic Institute more, but still,
a lot of cool guys I've met at Medina and elsewhere in the community. Really, because Kevin is there as just a means of community, and he's really, I think, fully embraced that role. As much as it took me to come out of my shell, I could probably speak for Kevin's behalf that, it took a push and a shove for him to get out of his shell, right? You'd say so.
Yeah,
to
definitely.
become more, it's really a,
I give
that credit to your desire for Allah. Because while I had my wife and I had, and you obviously, like, just saying, come on, Jay, you gotta get out of here. Like, I got that extra push. I feel like it was just your drive. Like, you really had a drive to get more immersed in the community. And that's such a, people are so, people I feel are very much, especially in this time in our nation, people are very to themselves, especially after COVID, people have gotten used to just being cooped up and alone, and it's really taken a toll on us, I think, emotionally and spiritually. So Islam is just in every way, subtle and explicit ways, it's been helpful, man.
And, I also want to elaborate more, it's just, because I know how much you love her, but, as much as you're willing to, because you also have the responsibility of protecting your wife's privacy, of course, but Rajia, how much of a force was she when, not just in us becoming friends, but your entire journey as a Muslim in general?
Well, my wife, she was really she was my first sincere friend in Islam, and she was there first as a friend. We didn't consider each other marriage prospects for certain circumstances, mainly being distance. But she was a great friend and just a good person to, she was there to always teach me, and that was where we kept it at. And then when we were able to meet with her, the chance just arose to meet her and her family, and I took it. And from there, we knew that this was something that, because meeting someone in person, it changes everything. So we fell in love and we got married, and she's just always been there as a rock for me, always trying to make me the best man I could be. Having a woman by her side just helps. It's I
think that's why I feel like that's why when you do it correctly, that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he made the statement, marriage is half of the deen, but you also have your other half that you got to take care of first. And you were in the process of doing that, and Rajia was definitely a big force in helping you with that. So by the time you guys met, you felt firm enough in that half of the deen that you welcomed her as the second half.
Exactly. So it really was perfect timing. I felt I didn't skip a beat when I met her, and just our whole marriage process was very seamless and clean, and alhamdulillah, I can't give any credit to anyone but Allah. So it's I didn't expect it, frankly, at that point too. There was something that came over me of I was only Muslim for 3 years at that point, and I was like, I'm unworthy of being with a Muslim woman. I felt like I thought maybe I needed 10 years. I was trying to give myself a time frame. How long should I be Muslim before I seek marriage? And I thought myself, I'm never going to really be worthy. I'm always going to be someone who's going to be a repentant slave of Allah. And that's not a shameful thing. That's a beautiful thing. And at that point, I just commit myself to Allah even more. And from there, she crossed my path. And the rest is history. let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
What's your favorite memory of us chilling?
Okay. Oh man, that's a good one. Okay, I guess it would have to be. Okay, I guess it would definitely have to be. Okay, and you might find it surprising, but it was definitely when we were at that Starbucks. Like, yeah, you and Raja were a little bit charged, but in the end, you know, we still had a decent talk and a good talk, and I felt like the smiles radiating off you, and I was like really just expressing how much I was like going into my journey and how I'm just becoming more and more sure and reassured day in and day out that Islam was the truth, and you know, and especially how, because I grew up with very traditional family values, you know, even before I was Muslim, I always fervently believed in marriage. Like, one thing that the fairy tales get right, like, happily ever after is not the reality, you know, there's always going to be new challenges, but the one thing that I feel like is the best thing is that when they recognize the feelings, they go straight to the marriage, you know, they go straight to making that commitment, because, and this is actually, I actually was reading this little post on an Islamic page on Instagram where infatuation is something that you don't necessarily have control over, but to actually love someone, that's a decision. It's a commitment that you consistently make, because yes, you had that infatuation and you had that attraction to Raja, but by marrying her and being her husband, you make a conscious choice to love her every day for the sake of Allah.
Yeah.
You know, that's the thing. And that's what most people don't understand nowadays. They confuse the infatuation with love, you know. Love is a decision. You make a conscious decision to commit yourself to serve this person for the sake of Allah. And that's the true meaning of marriage from an Islamic framework. And I find that really beautiful, because to me, everyone wants to think about marriage now as to what they receive. But that's not the right way. What you should be thinking about in marriage is what you can give. Yeah. Because once you give, what you receive comes naturally, and you don't even need to obsess about it. It just comes. When you naturally give to someone, they'll want to give to you, etc. And then you want to give back in return, then they'll want to give back in return, etc. Like, you give something to Raja, and she gives something to you in return. It's just that back and forth, and that nourishment, right?
Yeah. And I think that it's trying to think of.
But I think another really beautiful time where we hung out is definitely when we went to go see Super Mario movie and had a fun time. And in the we had a whole Mario day, to be honest about that. Remember? Yep. When we were in the car, Raja and I were playing Mario Kart on the DS. Then we went to go see the Mario movie. Then we went back and we hung out and played Mario Party. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Mario.
That's another thing I love about this guy. He loves Pokemon and Mario. It's like, this is a guy who has all the same loves that I had as a child. You know?
Yeah.
I feel like a kid again, but in the good way, where we just have those nice things that we have in common that just further our friendship, and we built each other.
Video games, playing games, obviously you got to do it in measured intervals. But as I said, I'm a natural, homebody. So video games have always been a really great thing for me to, I've always loved, playing games, and I like it's good, but. That was a great time.
But I think another time, and I'm not doing this as the sake of bragging. I'm just wanting to expand on the story, because you were referencing the story, but I wanted to go through the other good memory lane before we talked about that story, where we went to Wish Atlanta, and I just wanted to see if there were any cool streetwear stores, and then also maybe try to find you a pair of kicks that you could love.
Yep.
He's not wearing them right now, but he got a pair of really dope Adidas Forum highs.
Those are my favorite shoes, dude. I only wear my boots right now because they're just easy to slip on and off.
But also, when we were there, I found this pair there, the CDG Play Blue Converse, and I was already looking for a pair of these for a while, but it's really hard to find them in my size, at least in my experience. But then when we were perusing that store, they were there, and then when I asked around, they had them in my size. And Jacob, you could have easily just walked away, but no, you said, hey Kevin, instead of just giving you straight up money for those games, because I gave him vintage Pokemon games that I just happened to have on hand, and he was looking for them, and I wanted to give them to him, because this was a guy who I knew would take good care of those games, because they meant a lot to me. And when I gave them to him, and he was preparing to pay me afterwards, after we hung out, but he decided, hey Kevin, instead of just giving you money, let me get you those shoes. And I didn't want to like impose, but he insisted, and like that's why no matter how busted I might get these shoes, I always try to keep my kicks clean and preserve them and stuff, but they're, you know, it's the dunya. It's eventually these things are eventually going to wear out in weight in some way, but I intend, and actually even once they're worn out and I can't necessarily wear them anymore, I don't intend to give these away. Like, this is just when I wear these shoes, I'm reminded of that beautiful memory, and this is a memory of my friend, my ahi right here.
Dude, memento, I love that, dude. I love that. I really do.
Yeah, that's why, and I don't know if you noticed, but again, whenever I knew we were gonna hang out or you were gonna come by for something, I would purposely put on these shoes.
And I keep forgetting to wear the Adidas.
It's okay, man.
I keep forgetting.
But dude, I know you love them, and especially because you know you told that to me, to yourself, and again, I never once felt like this guy is not being genuine with me. Like, I know he's being real with me, and his wife also appreciates the shoes too. And again, because of how wonderful Rajia has been with like encouraging and nourishing our friendship, and how forgiving she was of me, and then also like being a good friend to me in return. Like, if I can find any way where I can improve your marriage by a little bit, alhamdulillah, because remember of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, you know, a true brother of Islam loves for his brother what he loves for himself. And I also want a beautiful marriage. That means I should be happy for any brother who themselves has a beautiful marriage. You know, and if any way I can like help your marriage or better it, alhamdulillah, you know, all credit is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Keep being you, my boy.
Yeah, but I think another funny story is that same time when we were hanging out that day, and we also went to a bookstore, and he got me a book on Mexican history as well, you know.
Yeah.
But also,
we should go to. Is Kitab House open? We should.
Yeah.
We have to hit Kitab House again.
I actually hit there yesterday because I was getting my Eid outfit, and also
nice.
Also other stuff. Not gonna go further there because again, trying to keep my intentions the same way, because you know, may Allah keep me humble, may Allah keep my intentions pure. But again, when we were leaving that bookstore, it was like he wanted to show me this vintage bookstore that he found, and we were leaving it, and then came his phone ringing. You had like a certain like interface and something where it showed a picture of people who briefly, very briefly, like it showed his wife without her hijab on, and I just had to go like, oh no, I'm not looking. So Jacob, I swear, wallahi, I'm not looking. And he didn't even understand what was going on until he remembered that.
I know. Honestly, that was a big blunder on my part. I should have, because it's that stupid Locket app. It's like it's a widget on the phone, so you can send pictures through the Locket app. I forget what it's called. I think it's called Locket.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't really care to. I don't even know what it's called.
Let's not go into showing it, because I think Rajia would kill you even if it was by accident.
Right now,
was exposed.
No, right now the Locket app, it's like that. I sent a picture of myself on it actually, but that's like the Locket. So this stupid. It was this stupid widget that because she sent me a picture and I was like, oh my god.
And it was her without her hijab.
Yeah, but this guy's a stand-up man. He looks the other way and he lowers his gaze like. Any sisters watching right now, I can give you my full vouch of approval. This guy right here, he's the one of a kind. This is a man. He's a true man right here. He's a one of a kind.
Inshallah, may Allah make me how you see me. And I said that before, and I've said this so many times, and I'm gonna say this again to you on camera. Jacob, you're my buddy. You're my ahi. You're my brother, and I respect you too much to even entertain the thought of potentially catching your wife's head uncovered. I mean, I respect you too much for that.
I very much appreciate that. That's a very, very, very respectable thing, man.
You know, and again, since then, that's been like a little recurring joke with me and Rajia. We would sometimes tag on you about that. Says the guy who almost let me see his wife's hair, and she played along with the joke. Like, it was a funny,
I know.
it was a fun way of teasing you. Like, I hope it was not meant to like insult you. We were just teasing you, bro.
Dude, I know.
But it's a fun, again, we can laugh about this now, you know? I mean, it's a serious thing, you know, in Islam, you know, that his wife, when she wears hijab, you know, she's only allowed to show it to mahram, you know, blood family or her husband or other females. Like, anything outside of the conditions of mahram, not permitted to see it. And I was determined to I'm always determined to follow that, and also the concept of lowering my gaze. Like, there are times where in my volunteering efforts I've had to like actually go into the women's section. I always try to keep a sincere effort of keeping my gaze down, so much so that some sisters have actually noted, like, man, this brother actually lowers his gaze.
Well, Islam reforms your character. That's the whole point.
Yeah, and it's not out of like, and for those who may not be very well versed in that ruling, it's out of respect of the sanctity and purity of the woman, you know, of their character. It's out of respect, because many people think it's because we put women on a lower rung. No, absolutely not. Women are very sacred in Islam, you know. We have these rulings and we have these protections for them because it's because we hold them on such a high level that we wish to not drag them down.
Yeah. And
especially with today's society of how people are like trying to actively encourage women to expose themselves for like what? Some brief recognition, or like to get like a sense of accomplishment, where their accomplishments should be from their character and the way they uphold themselves and their intelligence. You know?
Yeah. No, it's you know, again, Islam is the perfect middle. And I mean, again, I don't want to get too crazy philosophical about it, but you know, I haven't had a single question that's come to me where I haven't found the answer in Islam.
MashaAllah.
And it's ranged from complicated to simple. It's just all there, and it's a life experience. You know, it's a really great. Again, it's this whole entire trip in Georgia, I feel like, or just this time living in Georgia, has been an amazing experience. Just the friends I've made here, I know will last a lifetime, and that's not something I take for granted. I really don't take Kevin's friendship for granted,
and I try not to take his friendship for granted.
Yeah, and I'm excited to come back. I mean, I met a few brothers here. Shout out to my brother Taj. People I've just met, and they're good Muslim brothers who I feel like I met them once, and that was like I met them my whole life. I've known them my whole life. Is what the experience.
And my brothers at Medina Institute, in particular, brother Hayat, brother Andy, Abdullah, Ahmed, Sohaib, Zahid, brother Asad, you know, Imam Asad.
Imam Asad, yo, shout out to Imam Asad. Shout out to Imam Asad.
But also my brothers and sisters at Roswell, you know, like brother Jibril, sister Amina Rodriguez, you know, one of my mentors, and also sisters Kelly, Elizabeth, and among else. And of course MSA, you know, brother Ismail, you know, shout out to you, man.
Of course, Ismail. Yeah.
Then also brothers Isa and Irfan and Abu Bakr, and you know, sister Ezra and Sami, all of you, you know, every single one of our brothers and sisters of Islam, we wish nothing but the best, you know, peace, blessings, and goodness among all of our brothers and sisters of Islam. You know, we encompass a third of the world, y'all. You're like, we've reached the 2 billion mark. We've hit the 2 billion mark, man. In a planet of 7 billion, we now have 2 billion Muslims, you know, mashallah, man. That's 2 billion brothers and sisters in faith, man.
I know.
And you know, we wish nothing but the best for our 2 billion brothers and sisters, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, inshallah, may Allah continue to guide us, elevate us, and heal us, and grant us forgiveness in both here in the dunya and the akhirah, man. You know, Ameen, man.
Ameen.
So yeah, as you can see, man, like even though he and I have only known each other for less than 2 years, you can feel like that kinship, and that's just one of the many beauties of Islam. Because even though we've only known each other for like that little time, I feel as if I've grown up with this guy, man. This is my brother. My brother. No other way to explain this is my brother. So, and another thing, like I said, I always wanted to share the good stuff, especially with the Muslim community and friends and that I've managed to gain. You know, share my brothers and sisters with him because they're also his brothers and sisters. But also like, you know, other things like one of the last things he and we got to do together is that I invited you to my graduation party, and beforehand you've come over to my house for dinner. Like,
Yeah.
Talk about that, experiencing what it's like to be around my non-Muslim friends and my non-Muslim family.
Oh, well, Kevin, no matter what, he associates himself with really great people. And his family, including, his family is they're wonderful. MashaAllah, they're very accommodating, understanding to Kevin's beliefs. And they don't skip a beat in their own life. They're just very graceful people.
And you said my mom has nur on her face.
She does. And Kevin's invited me over for dinner a few times. He's king at making tostadas. So he makes phenomenal food. So I've come over and I've happily accepted those invitations. Kevin's father is grill master. He's grilled up
halal carne asada. Boy, you loved it, didn't you?
The halal carne asada was great. And overall, everything was just, every time I come here, it's a great time. I feel like it's just, you know, really... and again, like your friends who I met who are like your non-Muslim friends, like Koi, Connor, everyone, even even shout out to Charles. Shout out to, if you're watching, Charles, shout out to you.
Shout out. And JR and, you know, my Waffle House family, because, you know, they're important to me too. Like when I was going through college, and of course when I was going through the process of being a new Muslim, they were among the other people who like really defended me, because I told you,
great people.
Like Mark, Koi, also was like those people. They protected my salah. Like a true friend, in my opinion, when it comes to being Muslim, is no matter what they are, they help you protect your salah.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You know, and yeah, Mark, shout out to you, and Koi, shout out to you. You two have always, like when we hung out and I had to go pray, wherever, you always stood guard and made sure no one interrupted my salah. And that is like a really solid friendship right there from a Muslim standard. Like for us, salah is our lifeblood. So the fact that you would go out of your way to protect it, that's like, in my opinion, real true friendship there.
Yeah. So I think, you know, all around, you come from great people. I'm no surprise you're a great guy, Kev. I'm trying to think of a good way. Are there any other points we missed in this one?
I don't think so. Like, we've shared some great stories, and we've just hung out, and we've given shout outs to our buddies, our mutual friends, our community, your wife, of course, and your family, and the brothers and sisters that you and I have both encountered, not mutually and non-mutually, you know.
Yeah.
This is like the biggest example of why one of the many reasons I fell in love with the religion of Islam, is where we have true belief in one God, and from there we're able to build, I'm not even going to call it friendship. We're family.
Yeah.
We are an ummah, we are one family here, man.
And also, inshallah, stay tuned for part 2 in New York when this guy comes and visits.
Yeah, inshallah.
We're doing part 2 then.
Who knows when, and I plan, inshallah, may Allah make it easy for me, that I'm able to come visit him at his home in Long Island. He's definitely said I'm welcome anytime. He'll have
Absolutely.
a bed waiting for me, inshallah. I do plan to take you up on that.
Oh, yeah.
And we're going to have a vlog where we go crazy in Long Island and explore New York. And inshallah, I also want to specifically explore Brooklyn for both the streetwear culture and, of course, the beautiful Muslim community in Brooklyn, where we're going to meet plenty of the long-standing legacy black brothers and sisters who've been in that community from like up to a century, taste some of that bean pie, and hopefully, I hope, because, you know, I got to meet him once and it was a mind-blowing experience. I got to meet Imam Siraj Wahaj, you know, and his masjid is in Brooklyn. Inshallah, we get a chance to meet him again, because like that brother right there, beautiful brother in Noor, and he takes his faith in an active way. Like, if you know his story, you should know one of the best stories about him is how he collaborated with other fellow Muslims in Brooklyn, where they actively created a network that helped defeat the drug the drug houses that were poisoning the neighborhood at that time. Like, it was a den of crack and weed and booze, but like in collaboration with the police and other masjids, they took it a step where they did not just like target the houses that were supplying, they also targeted their customers and helped them guide away and rehabilitate from the necessity of drugs, and then also gathering information, and from there taking down those drug houses. So they turned that neighborhood of Brooklyn from a cesspool of like profanity and debauchery and poison to a beautiful community of Iman and Ihsan, where it's just like a true brotherhood of and sisterhood of Muslims in Brooklyn. Like,
we gotta go there.
We gotta go there, man. Like, that's another thing. When it comes to the Muslim Ummah, always find the communities that you know are gonna be like just nothing but pure brotherhood. Because as Malcolm X once said when he experienced the beauty of the Hajj back in the 60s, it's not until you feel like the true spirit of Islam that you know what it's like to like really feel the true spirit of brotherhood.
Mm-hmm.
It's not until you know Islam that you know what it truly means to be a brotherhood.
Yeah.
And a sisterhood.
There we go. Well, I think that's very well
articulated.
Very well said. And
stay tuned for part 2, and when we reunite, inshallah ta'ala, make dua that Allah makes this possible. And I just want to say again, like, you know, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I just always wanted to make, because again, I don't necessarily invite people out of nowhere. Like, if I'm inviting someone to be on a video with me, it's going to be someone I know is like who I really want to be on my channel. You know,
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that.
So yeah, that's
an honor to be on your show.
Yeah, and I don't really care how big the show is. I just want to share my authentic stories. And so yeah, this is concluding our podcast. This is concluding our episode with Jacob Kiefer, and always beautiful brother, man. And I'm always grateful to you. I'll always be grateful to Allah for allowing me to have your friendship. And you know, so we're gonna end here. You know, may Allah Azza wa Jalla continue to guide us. May He continue to give us blessed friendships. And whoever's watching this, if you feel encouraged to go and learn Islam, we highly encourage it, because it changed both of our lives for the better.
First you both go out your way and the vibe is feeling stronger. With small turn to a friendship turn to a bond, and that bond will never be broken. The love will never get lost. Right at the light guides your way. Yeah. Hold every memory as it goes.